Today for Full Album Friday, we're going back to 1982 to look at the Misfits album, Walk Among Us. First off, this is actually the third album that they recorded, but it was the first that they released, kind of. It's a little confusing, we gotta do some history here. Both Static Age and 12 Hits from Hell were actually recorded before Walk Among Us, but 12 Hits was scrapped by the record label and it wouldn't be released in its entirety for almost 20 years. Now, Static Age was also recorded in the late 70s, but again, due to label issues as well as band members changing, that one also went unreleased. And it wasn't released in its full form until that box set in 1996. So yeah, Walk Among Us is kind of the first Misfits album if you look at it from the right direction. Now, the Misfits had a ton of lineups and continue to have a ton of lineups, but a lot of people will agree that this is the classic lineup. You've got Glenn Danzig, Jerry Only, and Doyle. That to me is the core trio that makes the Misfits. Yeah, Joey Image, Bobby Steele, I know, they were great, but again, for me, this is the classic Misfits lineup. That all being said, Walk Among Us is 13 tracks going 25 minutes of sheer horror punk perfection. This is one of the most unrelentingly awesome albums ever, and it's a record that you honestly can't play loudly enough. Vampira, I Turned Into a Martian, Skulls, they're all here, and there are a few records that get me as instantly energized as this one. This one starts in 10th gear, and it never lets up even for a second. It's awesome. Both Glenn and Doyle handle guitars throughout the album, and it's riff city in its own unique way. These are just fist-pumping, floor-stomping, high-octane rockers that you can't ever get enough of. And like I said, you want to turn this up louder and louder and louder. You can't play the Misfits loudly enough. It's never been done. But that's the cool thing about the Misfits. There's always a clear melody and those strong influences from the 50s and the 60s. It's almost a bit psychobilly, but a bit darker and a bit more punk. It's the Misfits, and that's the sound that you love. If you love the Misfits, you know exactly why. I mean, it's the music, and then of course, it's Glenn Danzig's vocals. You can't say enough about those. They're so damn righteous. You just want to sing and scream along with every single song. Really, Glenn kills it on every line of every song, and all of these are anthems onto themselves. Nobody in hardcore or punk was making music like this at the time. It's kind of a stand against how uptight punk rock and hardcore had gotten at that point. It's loose but fierce, and you don't have that need for political soapboxing and self-righteousness and things like that. This is just one of those records where you find a band being unapologetically themselves and not really caring what people thought about it. It's honest, in your face, and roars at every single turn in the best way possible. It pulls you in deeper and deeper to their dark world of musical kick-ass, and once you're there, you never want to leave. I suppose you can kind of sum it up with one song title on this album: All Hell Breaks Loose. That's exactly what this record is all about, and to know the Misfits is to love the Misfits. Really, you just can't go wrong with late 70s, early 80s recordings from the Misfits, and Walk Among Us is absolutely essential to every collection. And if somehow it's not in yours, you need to change that right now. Thank me later.